Hi everyone, I'm Andres. I'm one of the admins here at Latino Millionaire Community, and today I have the honor of sitting down with someone whose vision started it all, Michael Valdes. Michael is not only a global business leader, he's also the heart behind this movement that's bringing Latinos together to grow in mindset, money, and comunidad. And so our mission here is simple, is to unite and empower Latinos from every background to dream bigger, to build wealth with purpose and support one another along the way. So Michael, again, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. I mean, this is crazy. This is sort of like why we created this, right? It was the whole idea of bringing a community together around the globe that's united by a language, that's united by an upbringing, that's united by every focus that we've had. And the only thing that we don't have is really this great relationship with money. It's the idea that the word Latino and millionaire don't go together. And so that's why it was so important for me to create this, to create and empower the next generation, to create and empower this generation, the people that have already made it. I'm not a unicorn. There's just not enough of us that are together, that are screaming out and saying, yes, we are proud Latino millionaires and we want to help others reach that goal.
Yeah, that's I would never thought that the word Latino and millionaire could not go together. I think that I've been very blessed that I've known you for a few years now and that you were able to change my mindset. That's all I have to say. So I'm eternally grateful for that. But let's start from the beginning, Michael. Like, who were you
Yeah.
before all the titles and what part of your story shaped the leader you are today?
Listen, it's sort of like the titles go away, right? It's sort of like put your head down and you work. And
Mhm.
when you actually start doing things, then you start sort of enjoying those perks. So I started as an investment banker in my 20s, and I got into banking because I had started another company, sold it. And I don't know, it was always like that sense of my dad was Cuban. He was a political prisoner in Cuba because he was an attorney for several politicians, and when he came to this country, it was always the idea that tomorrow is never promised. His entire country was taken away from him, so
Mm.
tomorrow was never promised, and so there's this work ethic that I think got instilled in me at an early age. When you start knowing that there is no real safety net, and sort of like just go and do it. And so that was really the impetus of really going in and building. And when you build in my 20s, look, in your 20s, you're really selfish, right? In your 20s, it's all about yourself. It's all about sort of doing it for yourself and enjoying the perks and doing it. And it's like, oh, wow, this is really fun and this is great. And then it's sort of like it start changes, right? It's sort of like there's always like there's this sense of excess. And then when you stop and you take a breath at one point, right? It's like I was in banking during 9/11 when the world changed for everyone. I was in New York City. I saw the second tower fall. Our world changed that day. Our entire world changed. And you start sort of thinking more from a sense of humanity and where
Yeah.
are you and what really matters. And you start looking around, and through a series of circumstances, I got into real estate when I was in my late 30s at that point. And so when you are sort of like looking at a whole other perspective of doing things, and then there was another bit of wealth that came in through the real estate side that has been very consistent since then. And I've been in real estate now for 22 years. There's
Mm.
this sense of the accolades don't really matter. What matters is your point of view, where you actually do reach that pinnacle of wealth and you start saying, okay, you're not going to take it with you. And
Yep.
what was greater to me was really seeing my community, the Latino community, and having that sense of that there's no great relationship with money. There's no
Mhm.
great relationship with understanding that there's no glass ceiling, only the one that's self-imposed. And I
That's
would
right.
hear a lot of our community saying, trabaja duro, pero no te pase. And it was sort
That's
of
right.
like, yeah, no, that's not the right answer. You work hard and you keep going. There is no stop sign. There shouldn't be a stop sign, right? I mean, I say this a lot, but think about if you're sitting on an airplane, right? And when they sort of say, if the oxygen mask drops, put it on yourself first before you help others. There is no Latino parent that
Hmm.
would be sitting on that plane and not take care of their child first.
Hmm.
But have you done that child any favors? Let's just say you're traveling with your 3-year-old son and you're sitting on that plane and you put that mask on your child and then you pass out because of lack of oxygen. Have you done that child any favors?
Mm.
You haven't. And so it's not selfish to put the oxygen mask on first. It's selfless.
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself first before you help others. And it's unapologetic. We are here in a community where we're almost felt bad to succeed. You can do it at a certain level, but don't pass. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is where I want to break those barriers. That is not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to go and be unstoppable so that we can help a greater number of people. Then you have unlimited oxygen masks. Then you can help an infinite number of people. That's what I want to do.
That's right. What a vivid image of the airplane. I've heard you share this image a lot, and it's so powerful because it's true, right? You're doing a disservice to your child, or in that scenario, right? We forget that we have to take care of ourselves first. And you also mentioned something very interesting that it resonates with me a lot. That as Latinos or immigrants, right, when you come to a new country, it's we just have to hustle, right? We have to work. And you mentioned something that made me think of a quote that if you want to conquer the island, you have to burn the boats, right? I think
That's
I've
right.
also heard you speak about that before, and it's like that's when you decide to go all in, and not only in yourself, but in for your family. And that's the reason why a lot of us migrate to other countries. It's we do this for our familia. So, Michael, you've built teams across the world. What lessons from that journey do you think every Latino entrepreneur should hear first?
Look, I think that that's too broad of a question, right? Because I think that
Mhm.
there's when you build in different countries, there's different cultures, different mores, different systems of doing work and business that you have to adapt to. I think that
Mhm.
you have to be agile. You have to be a chameleon. If you're building a global business, you have to understand the nuances of where you're building. You're not going to build the same business in New York than you would in Mumbai. It just won't work. You have a much different focus of how you do work in different countries around the world. And
Mhm.
so what does resonate is that whatever you're building around the globe, if you're building a business and you're building a global business, which has been what my specialty over 20 years, you've got to understand that whoever is sitting there in Beijing or in Brazil, that they understand the message that you're giving on a global scale. If you're building a global business, you have a global message,
Mhm.
and how that impacts that person in China or the person in Brazil. Whomever is giving your message in that country needs to understand what that end message is, because it starts by an individual believing in your message before it can become a global message. Somebody has to understand what their piece of that overall message that you're building is, much like what we're doing here. We're
Mhm.
building a global community here. We're building a global community where every individual matters, where every individual that comes to this community is coming here either because they want to learn, they want to be a part of something larger, they want to have the roadmap to success, or it's somebody that's already achieved it and they want to give back and they're in that same boat that I'm in, where right now our only responsibility, the only way that I get to build a legacy, the only way that anyone that has succeeded as Latinos the way that I have in my career is also by building a legacy. The only way you can build a legacy is not just by leaving it to your family, but by
Yep.
leaving an impact on others to impact their own families that are disrelated to you. You have to have an opportunity where someone that has nothing to do with you by bloodline, you're giving back to so that they can have their own success story.
Yeah, and I can say I've been part of that impact of just by the way you're being. You've impacted me in so many ways, Michael. And you shared about this earlier in the conversation, how you were focused on your 20s and abundance, and it came to a point that you decided to focus, shift your focus into the community, into giving back. What moment in your career made you say, "I need to create something bigger for my comunidad"?
Look, it was probably from a very personal point of view. At 25, I was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Mm,
And it was something that, in your 20s, you shouldn't test your own mortality. And,
mm,
but I say it was the greatest gift I ever had. And it was, for me, it was the idea that you learn at that early age, it was a great gift because you learned at that point that there was something greater when you actually have to be grateful for tomorrow. You understand that you're grateful for yourself, but now that you're here and now 30 plus years later, you're sort of saying, okay, then what is the impact that one is supposed to leave? And so you understand that community is important, that we're shared by, look, all of us, depending, no matter what country you were raised in, whether you're an immigrant or first generation, or you've been here for 5 generations, whether you speak Spanish or not, there is still a lot that connects us. There's still a lot of natural upbringing of things that we were taught. We represent hundreds of millions of people around the globe. And so those things are important because as a group, we're incredibly powerful.
I think you mentioned it before, like our combined buying powers makes us our fifth biggest country in the world
That is correct.
by GDP, right?
By GDP. If we were a country, we'd be the fifth largest country by GDP.
Just think about that.
Yes.
The
And over $4 trillion of spending money as a community. Imagine that. We're so fragmented, right?
mm,
We're so fragmented as when we start talking about the Latino community, everyone comes in and it's almost like you have your own little tribes, right? If you're from Colombia, you help the Colombians, the Chilenos help the Chilenos,
yeah,
and what we are saying is we're all one. What
for sure.
unites us is much more powerful than what separates us. Your accent could be different. You could say, you could sort of like speak Spanish in a different way. It doesn't matter. It's the idea that whatever upbringing we had is more mostly matched by everything. And what unites us is much more than what separates us. And when we let go of that, when we let go of the idea of, I don't care what country you were raised in and what you were born in, I care that you and I share a bond. And I care about your success because of that bond. And because of us as a community together, what we can do to change not just what we're living in now, but to change an entire generation. That's so powerful to me. That's what excites me. That's why we're doing this.
You would say that the vision that you have for the community is the power that you have to change the whole generation?
To change the world, brother.
I was gonna ask you why is community such a core part of your vision? And I think you just answered that before I even asked the question.
It's what it is, right? I
Yeah,
mean, look, there's so many. Look, if I could have influenced you in whatever way I influenced you over the years that we've known each other, that you say changed your life, that's just one person, right?
yeah.
Imagine if we have the ability to hit hundreds of thousands of people or even millions of people around the globe. Imagine the force. Imagine you times 100,000, you times a million. Imagine what that could be. Imagine the people that you have now helped. Imagine the network effect that that does around the globe. That is something that becomes a movement at that point. That's bigger than me, that's bigger than you, that's bigger than anything. It becomes, the community becomes the movement. The Latino millionaire community becomes what can change a country, what can change a mindset, what can change other people into influencing others for good.
That's the power. Comunidad es poder, right? I think that's what we keep
That's
saying
it, man.
everywhere. Michael, what do you hope people feel when they join the Latino Millionaire community? As you know, we're building this community online and hopefully in real life as, time
Yes.
passes by. What do you hope they feel when they join our community?
I want them to feel inclusion. I want them to feel aspired, inspired. I am bringing a lot of my friends into this. I am going to start bringing a lot of people that we're going to have incredible discussions. There's a lot of people that I have gotten to be very good friends with in various sectors in my many years on this earth now. And so this is the time that I'm calling in all of my favors so that people can come in and share what they've done. I can share all my lessons, and I'm going to, and I'm going to be an incredible open book to everyone. But I want to have 100 people behind me that are worth more than I am, that are sort of like going to go and tell their stories and what they built and how they built. And people are going to resonate with something. People are going to sort of take one nugget that's going to be the spark that's going to create something else. Someone that's going to be sitting here and in some sort of way, something is going to inspire them. That could be the next sort of like tech thing that goes off. Imagine if this becomes a spark where there's the next Latino billionaire that comes out there. You know, we don't have enough sort of physical proof of things that are possible, right? Look, you start sort of thinking about the number one man in the world, the most richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, says he's Cuban. His stepfather was Cuban. Bezos is his stepfather's name, who adopted him at a very early age and raised him. Jeff Bezos considers himself a Cuban man. And he is one of probably the richest man on earth. And that is something that we forget.
Yeah.
We sort of say, oh, yeah, Jeff Bezos. Yeah, by the way, Jeff Bezos says he's Cuban. Jeff Bezos, we'll take him.
Latino. There we go.
Latino. You know, Carlos Slim, one of the wealthiest people on earth, has built one of the most incredible businesses in Mexico. There's few people that know Carlos Slim's name. This is the idea that they exist. The proof of concept exists. There are Latino billionaires. Forget about millionaires. There are billionaires out there that are part of this community. There is physical proof that it is possible to achieve. And so those are the things that we want to put in front of you.
You mentioned in the past, Michael, about building funds for Latinos entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What feature do you want to help build for them, for the future generation, next generation of Latino entrepreneurs?
Look, this is something, imagine an invention that comes out, that becomes something that changes the way that we do business. We're in the midst of AI. I have heard several studies that have said more billionaires will be created with AI in the next 5 years than was ever created with the internet over 20 years. Think about that. They're in the precipice of what can be life-changing things. Why not it being someone who is a science genius sitting in El Salvador, who doesn't have any resources to capital, and yet he has or she has the next idea that's going to impact the world. I believe that that is possible. I believe that that exists. And if there is a connection to give someone the capital to have that idea be introduced into the environs of our society, then I want this to be that mechanism, or at least help bridge that gap. So that is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be starting this. I'm going to be funding this fund. I'm going to invite other people to come in and do so. And we're going to start giving out scholarships for these types of ideas. We're going to launch this probably early next year, where we're going to start getting this community out there. We want people to start bringing other people into this community. That is what the C stands for, Latino Millionaire Community. It is a community. I want you guys to, that's your first responsibility. If you're here and you found us, go tell 10 other people, because this information is not meant to be hoarded. This information is meant to be shared. And it is very inspiring. It's very aspirational. And we want this to reach as large of an audience as possible. I want everyone who is a part of us now, and this is something that has happened very organically. We've got about 4,000 or 5,000 people on the site that have found us. I want each of those people to go invite 10 other people. I want this to be a community that grows, because this is where we all then grow. The more people that are on here, the more viewpoints come on. The
That's
more
it.
different viewpoints are in, resources are in. That's how we all win from there. This is not supposed to be a singular conversation with me and you and 5 other people. You know,
Hmm.
that's great, but that's not going to impact as many people as we can, and the potential that we have to truly make this something different.
That's right. And I think you mentioned something very, very powerful. You mentioned AI, right? I think that's a conversation and a hot topic nowadays. And when I hear that, I hear opportunities. I hear
Sure.
possibilities, right? And like you said, it could be anybody. It could be in Salvador. It could be in Argentina. It could be anybody in the corner of this world
That's
that
right.
we have never lived in a era or a time where we have so much resources, so much access to knowledge, right? And the ability to create anything at any point should we choose to do so. So what a
It's
powerful
become
vision
the
that you.
greatest equalizer,
Yeah,
right?
that's
It's
it.
sort of like the internet, everything else has become the greatest equalizer,
Yep.
because information is in everyone's hands equally.
Hmm.
What you do with that information to create the next thing is completely up to you. That's where
That's
your
it.
talent comes in. When you marry the two, and now we actually give you the third component of resources and capital, now you really are equalizing the space.
That's it. Why not you, right? I think that's what we want people to ask themselves. Why not them? And why not now? Why
Well, that's
delay?
exactly it. I mean, it is you, it is now.
Michael, you spoke about the next generation. We speak a lot about the future, what we're creating, right? I want to know, what does legacy mean to you? I know this is a very personal question because you always talk about the legacy that you're building and what you're creating, and I love it. But I want to share with people, what does legacy mean to you, and how does this community fit into that?
Listen, my only regret is that I was never a dad, right? So I wish that I had children that would actually sort of like have this be. So everyone that I mentor becomes my children of sorts. And now when I actually start talking about building legacy, I want to make sure that the work that I did and was able to do, and the doors that I was able to break, and what I was able to do as the first Latino X, whatever that was, whatever title that was, I want to make sure that that door remains open for others. I want to make sure that everything that I did wasn't in vain. I want to make sure that that is what I'm doing to make sure that other people's lives are impacted, whether I ever meet those people or not. That is what I consider legacy.
Love that. I feel like it's the first time I actually hear that. And maybe in a new light, that's when I'm hearing it. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Michael,
Sure.
thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your story, your heart, and your vision with all of us. To everyone watching, we hope this conversation inspires you to think bigger about your own path, your mindset, your money, your purpose, and the comunidad that you're building around you. This space exists for you.
That's
So let
it.
us know in the comments what part of this interview spoke to you the most. And what would you like? What would you love to see next inside the Latino Millionaire community? We're just getting started and we're building
And
it
and that's
together.
that's a great point. It is that the word community is underlined, guys. This is your space. I want to know what you want to see. I want to know what you want us to talk about. Is it finance? Is it business planning? Is it like, what is it that you need from us? What is it? Is it financial literacy? How to increase your credit score. I've got the resources for all of this. So tell us what you want to hear. We're going to start doing seminars. We're going to start doing workshops. We're going to start doing a lot of things here. This is an opportunity for you to tell us what's important for you. What resources are there? We're going to start creating this fund, as I said. We're going to start bringing other private investors in. We're going to start talking about a lot of different things here. So this is your community. It is about building your wealth. It is about building your influence. It is about building your legacy. So, Latino Millionaire Community, we welcome you. We're glad you're here. And Andres, thank you so much for everything you do.
Pleasure, Michael. We're just getting started and we're building it together.